about a global venture capital firm, Eight Roads Ventures, which has a dedicated 250 million healthcare and life sciences fund for India. They recently held their third edition of their annual healthcare conference, Scale Up Health, with the theme of disruptive trends for 2025 and beyond. To talk in detail on the growth opportunities in India and their investment plans, we have with us Prem Pavoor, who is a senior partner, head of India and healthcare investments at Eight Road Ventures, joining in. Prem, hi, welcome to the show. First, just wanted to get a sense in terms of the recent conference that you held, Scale Up Health. There were a couple of various topics which you all spoke on, CDMO, oncology, as well as, weight loss drugs. From your perspective, from an India standpoint, India pharmaceutical standpoint, which is probably the biggest trend to watch out for, which is going to add profits to the table?
First, thank you for having me on the show. And it was nice to see such a well-attended conference. I think it's our third year of the conference, and the life sciences and healthcare community only seems to grow from strength to strength. I think of the three topics, the one that has the potential to be most needle moving in the near to medium term is perhaps the anti-obesity opportunity, perhaps less from a profit perspective for the Indian pharmaceutical companies, but much more from a global perspective. I also believe that the trend will have spillover effects into some of the other aspects that India can support, like contract manufacturing and patient services and safety surveillance, clinical trials, etc. I think the second big opportunity is the CDMO opportunity, given the increasing geopolitical tensions and also the impending biosecure legislation with the US Senate, which can be quite game-changing for the Indian development and manufacturing sector.
So on the Biosecure Act itself, what kind of impact do you think it could have on the entire space and in India, for India in particular?
It's a good question. I would say that, perhaps we'll not see any immediate term change, though as you poll well-established and high-quality biopharmaceutical companies in India, they are all seeing an increase in proposals from the big pharma companies as well as the small biotechs. I think most of the customers in the US and Europe from our conversations are adopting a wait and watch approach to see where this legislation plays out. But I think it is safe to say that, irrespective of the legislation and just given the geopolitical uncertainty, it is highly unlikely now as a customer in the US or Europe that you will put all of your eggs in one basket, that you will look to diversify your sources beyond China, and India is the obvious opportunity. So I do believe that you will see a lot of spillover into India. I think the question is whether the Indian contract development and manufacturing firms are ready with infrastructure and services to be able to provide and cater to this large demand.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you, Prem. We've spoken a lot about the possible opportunities, but all of the companies are saying that they still currently have queries, and it's still not changed into, tangible business. That's one point. But do you think India is just far too behind when it comes to technology as compared to, the South Korean companies of the world, or even Europe and US, which is emerging as a hot opportunity when it comes to CDMO?
I think you made a very good point in that if you look at the large manufacturers, and let's take the example of the anti-obesity drugs, the large manufacturers, interestingly, are looking to insource manufacturing as opposed to outsource it. But there are plenty of other smaller biotechs who still don't want to invest in capacity, who are still looking for a high quality, reasonable cost destination. And the reality is that, whether it is South Korea or other parts of the world, they just will not be able to absorb all of the spillover from China. So you will see some positive ramifications from an Indian context. I think it's very hard for Indian companies to set up as we call it, put steel in the ground overnight. I think it will take time. But where Indian companies can do well is to differentiate on their offerings. For example, we have a partner company called Enzene, which is a subsidiary of Alchem, and that offers a continuous biologics manufacturing platform, amongst the first globally to customers. So those types of offerings will help India leap up the curve in terms of taking share.
Well, Prem, let's just focus away from your conference now, because you have an interesting portfolio. While you don't invest directly into listed companies, you have some kind of investments indirectly in them. One of them, interestingly, is Bicara Therapeutics, which is basically an associate company of Biocon. And it's expected to go public soon in the US markets. Give us a sense in terms of what exactly does the company do? How much do you have invested? Are you exiting via the IPO? And what does it bring to the table?
Bicara is our second partnership with Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, both on the innovation side. Our first one is a CAR-T therapy company called Immunil, which is offering a CAR-T therapy for Indians in India. Bicara was our second investment. It's an interesting example where a novel drug and the IP was moved from India to the US so that you could create a best-in-class team in the US and take advantage of the US-India corridor, India for some activities and the US for others. What's most compelling about the company is that it has in its pipeline a drug which has the potential to be a best-in-class drug for treating head and neck cancers. And so the company has filed an S1 to think about a listing on the NASDAQ. We invested largely about 12 months ago as the company was, still generating data. So it's actually good to see a world-class asset coming out of India. Some of the other details, unfortunately, Ekta, around the IPO are confidential, and given strict US laws, I'll probably sort of talk to you about what's public if it's okay.
Right. Finally, before we let you go, what's interesting, I like a couple of things in your portfolio, and it all circles back to the point that you made first, which was about the opportunity that the weight loss drugs could have for the global pharmaceutical industry. While it may have, a solid reason when it comes to health, etc., you can't take away from the cosmetic aspect of this possibility. And that brings me to your investment in one, Tutsi. And secondly, I'm sure there are a lot of these, beauty therapies that people are looking at when it comes to de-aging and looking a certain way as a business opportunity. Do you have any, investment plans out there? That's point number one. And secondly, on muscle rehabilitation, that too is a growing opportunity as people are, injuring themselves more while they work out a lot more.
So again, both excellent questions. I think in general, aesthetics, but with a clinical bent, has been a key area of focus for us. And Tutsi is a great example in that it's a market leader in providing aligners to the Indian population at a very effective price point. And it's able to do that because it's full stack. I think we are, as investors, very clear that quality is sacrosanct, and Tutsi has a platform where it starts right from 3D printing aligners to providing aligners to patients. So I think that's one example. The second example is a nutrition business that we are partners in with Unilever called Oziva, which provides a range of nutrition products, some with a beauty element, to customers. So those are the two that we have. We continue to look for interesting ones, finding a balance between an unmet need and also being able to provide the highest quality product. In terms of your second question, pain in general, I think, is a growing area globally as an unmet need. And I think everyone now is aware of physiotherapy and the need for it. We have an investment in India in a company called Healthcare at Home that sends physiotherapists home to patients. But we also play the US market opportunity through one of our India for global companies called Spry, which has a software platform for US physiotherapists and for their clinics, which is seeing significant traction in the US. So those are the two ways that we participate in that opportunity, but one that is here to stay and grow.
Okay, just before we let you go, Prem, you have less than 2% or just about 2% in API holdings, which is basically PharmEasy. Tell us, what is the plan with that? Are you planning to exit entirely? Are you sticking on to your investment? And what is the cumulative amount that you've probably made or lost in that particular investment?
No, hopefully, we've only made money on PharmEasy. We were early investors in the platform, and it's one that we tracked the sector for 6 years before we made a bet, and we're very happy with the bet. We were early investors. We did de-risk the investment a bit in 2021, and we continue holding it for the long term. It's a company that has turned a corner very effectively and now focused on profitable growth with a very good team. It's a team that we've had a lot of conviction in over the years. So a very happy and significant from a dollar perspective position for us, Ekta.
An intuitive follow-up on that, because pharmaceutical went to e-commerce through PharmEasy, etc. Now everyone's moving to quick commerce. Are there any bets out there, a medical company or a pharmaceutical company dabbling with quick commerce, given the sort of rise that we've seen in Blinkit and Swiggy's e-commerce ventures?
Not yet. I think the quick commerce opportunity is an interesting one, both for acute drugs, maybe for chronic. But I would say that, today we haven't seen anything that is scaling at that level on the quick commerce side. Most of the neighborhood chemists and pharmacists also provide an element of quick commerce. But I think one to watch out for, I agree with you.
Okay, all right, Prem, we're going to let you go on that note. It's a pleasure. Thanks very much for joining in and speaking with us in terms of your whole list of investments, as well as the ideas and themes that you're proposing within the entire Indian healthcare space. We'll take a short break. On the other side, Manisha Gupta will join in. She has with her Peter McGuire.